Breaking news tonight, noon Eastern tomorrow. We will likely get a look at the search warrant justifying the FBI's raid on Mar-a-Lago. I say likely because the Department of Justice could still appeal. And even if we get the search warrant, what we get might not tell us much. The Department of Justice today filed a redacted search warrant with the court, meaning they blacked out everything they don't want us to see. So what we get tomorrow could look something like this. Meaningless gibberish. It could also tell us a lot. We just don't know. On Monday, we noted that much of the most damaging stuff in the warrant might have already leaked. In other words, the same DOJ arguing grave threats to national security by releasing the entire warrant is the same DOJ leaking things like there might be nuclear secrets in those documents at the president's home. The Mar-a-Lago raid is one of 4 investigations into the former president. There's the January 6th committee, the DOJ investigations thereof. Georgia has its own grand jury investigation of Trump trying to overturn the election in that state, and there are the New York State investigations. But if you watch TV these days, even some places, including Fox News, the top secret documents at Mar-a-Lago might finally bring Trump down.
This is reporting that the FBI has now obtained more than 300 different classified documents from Trump's home that reportedly include documents from the CIA, the NSA, and the FBI.
His secret documents that he allegedly, knowingly stole and held on to and then double stole.
Happening now, former President Trump's risk of criminal prosecution may be rising right now.
Criminal case.
Criminal charges.
Criminal charges.
Criminal charges.
Criminal charges.
Of course, we are all old enough to remember all the other times that Trump was done in the media's eyes. There was the secret email server in Trump Tower. Before the election, the Russian collusion investigation, impeachment 1 over Ukraine, impeachment 2 over January 6th. Not to mention, of course, all of the political scandals where people predicted this was the end of Trump's campaign. A shrewd political observer once told me, rule number 1 of Trumpism, Trump always wins. That's rarely true for those around Trump. Literally dozens of aides face investigation and jail time for their time in Trump world, just to name a few. Rudy Giuliani is now the target of a Georgia grand jury for election crimes. Michael Cohen, longtime lawyer and fixer, went to jail for fixing Trump's problems. Roger Stone got a pardon. Paul Manafort faced charges out of the Russia investigation. Alan Weisselberg, longtime accountant at the Trump Organization, pled guilty in the tax evasion case. Paul Manafort, as we said, spent 2 years in jail before a Trump pardon. His book is now out, Political Prisoner, Persecuted, Prosecuted, but Not Silenced. Mr. Manafort is with us now. We appreciate you joining us, sir. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Trump's been investigated 5 ways till Sunday. Are they ever going to get him, or is it going to just keep being this forever game of Adam Schiff saying this is the time?
Look, there's a pattern to all of the investigations done by the Democrats. It starts with this, fantastic violation or crime that Trump's committed. He's communicated with Putin, and they're coordinating together. He's made a phone call and threatened Ukraine. He's got secret documents in his box in his basement that are of national security interest. I mean, and then all the leaks start. He's in trouble. He's going to jail. This is the time he's going down. And the leaks to the favored reporters, many of whom are always the same reporters.
It's a great point. What I'm fascinated by is the continued loyalty of so many to Trump, as evidenced just by our conversation here with you. You stayed in jail for 2 years before he pardoned you, and yet still you defend him.
Well, because I supported him because I believed he was necessary to end the corruption and the two-tier system of justice that existed in Washington. And nothing has changed. I mean, we talk about how Trump goes after his enemies, but remember, this raid on his home was historic. It's unprecedented in all the history of our country. When Trump was running in 2016, part of the rallies had, one of the campaign slogans was "Lock her up." He got elected president. He didn't lock her up because he respected the fact you don't go after your political opponent in a real democracy.
I I understand that. Do you think, let me ask it this way, is there anything that you know about President Trump and his behavior, either during the campaign or as president, that's enough to get him? Is anybody going to ever get him?
Well, I've never seen anything. All of these.
So there's no secrets that you still hold of his?
The secrets that I still hold, there was nothing illegal that was going on.
But there's still secrets.
Well, I mean, they're not public, but there's no behavior that is putting him in harm's way. What puts him in harm's way is his willingness to carry the torch to drain the swamp. And as long as he does that, he's going to be in the crosshairs. And that's what you see today.
Not only is he in the crosshairs, but anybody who worked for him is in the crosshairs, as evidenced by you, who was investigated. And there were crimes that came out afterwards. And that's what you were charged with, not as it related necessarily to your work for Trump. Everybody who's gone.
I would say not only me, but now they're putting, the Democrats are focusing on the everyday American supporters of Donald Trump. We
can argue whether the January 6th people are being targeted for that or for crimes. But let me just get this out. There's so many people now who have been investigated and, if not charged criminally, hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and years of their life spent under investigation because of their time working for President Trump. Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, now says he's not sure he would work for him in a second term. Take a listen.
Would Jared work in the White House with President Trump if he were to serve another term?
So I think I'd go through, first of all, my answer is I'm really loving my life right now. I've gotten to know my kids. I cook them breakfast every morning. I love being in the private sector. I really believe that people are supposed to go into Washington and then leave Washington. I don't think you should be a career politician.
So no, you would not go back?
It's not my preference. But again, it's also something where if you're called to serve your country, it's a very, very hard thing not to do. But okay. Strong preference not to.
All right.
Okay. Would you advise anybody right now to go work for Donald Trump?
If you believe in him, yes.
So it shouldn't scare people that he demands so much loyalty but doesn't often seem to return it.
Well, he pardoned me, and I appreciate that very much.
Yeah, 2 years later, though.
Well, yes, that's correct. But the point is, if you believe in him, if you believe that the fight is...
Hold on. I remember during the campaign, I covered the campaign extensively when I was at Fox. You went to the mat for him over and over and over again. How is it loyal? How's the loyalty returned to have waited 2 years to pardon you?
Look, in the book, I talk about that issue specifically and what my hopes were and my understanding of why things might not work out prior to the 2020 elections, win or lose. So as a political person, I understand all of the pressures that the president deals with in something as intense as what I was involved in. At the end of the day, he did the right thing, and I appreciate it. What I don't appreciate is the way the special prosecutors came after me on issues that I had been cleared on, broke people down, squeezed them to lie, and then convicted me in the court of public opinion before I ever got to a courtroom. Because in the court of public opinion, I was gagged the moment they indicted me. I was put in solitary confinement for 11 months. And yet the government was leaky, just like they're doing now in the Mar-a-Lago raid, all kind of stories about me, none of which were true. And so I never had a fair trial. The environment was never right for that.
You make a great point about the leaks coming out of the DOJ. It was a point we made a couple of days ago, and we'll continue to make, depending on what comes out in the redacted or whatever we get tomorrow, if we do. Mr. Manafort, it was good to see you, sir. We appreciate the time, and you're welcome back anytime as an observer of these events.
I'll come back whenever you ask. Thank you.
We'll hold you to that. Thank you, sir. Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.